Hello everyone, hope you're having a great weekend. Hope you all are ready for some more Baldur's Gate 3 Bard action here today. Hey Philip, thanks for joining the stream. Hey Joshua. Oh boy. Got your coffee and ready to start your weekend? Yeah, it is fairly early in Alaska right now, so thanks for joining, I appreciate it. So what do I think of Bard with 2 levels of Paladin? Very interesting. They both have charisma as a primary stat, and they're both going to be focused on utilizing spells for different things. The Paladin is going to be using spell slots primarily for charges of Divine Smite, basically. The Bard allows them to have access to more spell slots than the Paladin does on a per level basis. So you're going to go up 1 every other level more than you would get as a straight Paladin. So it's in tabletop, it's not a very common combination to see, but in the video game here, I've actually seen a couple of different people add in Bard levels for a multi-class for their Paladin, just because of the synergies that they have. Hey Adam, thanks for joining the stream, I appreciate it. Yeah, ready to kick off another weekend here for the Bard today and then the Paladin tomorrow, so should be fun. Hey Jakaria. Hey from my mom as well. Thanks everybody who's joining the stream. I appreciate it. So hopefully we learn a bit today from the stream. It's should be fairly good. We're gonna get into a fight today that I'm not entirely sure we are really ready for, but we'll see what we can do. So should be interesting. Yeah, with the Bard playthrough, I really want to respec Will, and do something with him that would really bring out the synergies that a Paladin can have, a Paladin multi-class can have with a Bard in the party, but I don't want to give any more spoilers for what's going to happen in the Paladin playthrough. So that is right. The Paladin is the highest chosen class according to Larian for all of the players who are currently playing the game. If you missed it, Larian released a community update on their website and in the launcher. and you can read a lot of statistics that they have published from the first week of the full access version of the game being released, and it's incredibly impressive. The game has beaten all expectations for Larian. It has just crushed the Steam charts. It's the 8th most concurrent players at a time game in the history of Steam. I mean, it's impressive. But going through those stats, yeah, the Paladin is the class that most players have chosen to play for their first playthrough. And it's honestly, if I had to guess, and this is just me throwing out a guess, Paladin is probably going to be the first thing that gets a balancing pass in the game. There's a bunch of reasons that people have chosen Paladin for their first playthrough, but one of them is just because how borderline overpowered it is. And I mentioned this at the start of the Paladin playthrough. There are a bunch of guides out right now for building your Paladin and that sort of stuff. There are even a bunch of guides out right now going through the multi-class that I'm going to be doing in my playthrough for the Paladin tomorrow. I think a lot of those guides are coming from a place of video game basis as opposed to tabletop basis. So I'm going to be doing things much differently than them just because I've experienced some of these character builds in tabletop and I see how much more useful they are in tabletop. And I think people are in a lot of these guides might be missing some of the finer points of multi-classing a Paladin. So I'll be really anxious to show that off as we go through the playthrough tomorrow, and then talking about how the Bard, which we're doing today, synergizes so well with the Paladin. Yeah, and that's right, Joshua. And I mentioned it at the start of the Paladin playthrough. For single point burst damage, there is no comparison to the Paladin. There just isn't. For multi-target encounter damage, the Barbarian is going to be slightly better unless you are able to manage the amount of Divine Smites you have. And that's where people showing all of these videos where you're able to go up to a target and attack 4 times and use 4 Divine Smites and kill a target. That's great. You can do that. But then you've already used up, at level 12, a Paladin only has 10 spell slots, and you just use 4 of them on Divine Smite for a single target. So now what do you do? If you've cast another couple of buffing spells on yourself as a Paladin, you've only got 4 left. You go use those on another enemy somewhere, and now you're completely out of Divine Smite. And like I say, I think people are focusing so much on just, man, I can burst down this one target, and they're not thinking about the entire encounter playthrough. And that's where my multi-class build is going to be a little bit different. Just because, like I say, I've experienced that in tabletop. I've experienced the helplessness of being completely out of Divine Smite. And even though I can attack multiple times, I'm not getting that burst damage anymore. And in that case, the Barbarian, with their rage that just continues as they continue to cause damage, just outdoes the Paladin in every way. So it's going to be interesting as we go through. But yeah, there have been a lot of videos about the Paladin and how strong it is, and that's kind of why I expect that Larian might take a look at some things, because yeah, the Paladin is just going to be the one everybody wants to go to. And I think they probably want to value some of the other classes as well. But we'll see how it goes. I'm anxious to see what they do with DLCs and expansions and things like that as we go along here. Incorporating more of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything and Xanathar's Guide to Everything. They've already included bits and pieces of those things here and there, but seeing how that comes along and just, you know, like I say, seeing how it goes all the way up to level 20 eventually, hopefully. Jack said he just arrived in Act 3 and blown away from the quality. Yeah, that's something that if you watched the reveal live stream of the full version of the game from Larian in 4K, 60 FPS while they were walking through the city, it's incredible. It's just amazing. It's like nothing that you have seen before in a CRPG. Like I say, there's just no comparison. The amount of detail, the amount of interaction, the amount of encounter variability that you have in the city, and the fact that Larian made a choice to make, you know, the whole city a seamless type of, you know, as much of a seamless type of adventure as they could is just, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. We will get there eventually. But yeah, it's gonna take us a while to get there. So even on my personal playthrough, for those of you who don't know, I obviously can't do this for a living. I have a full-time job. I work, 50 hours a week. So even after work, I don't get to play a whole lot. So even on my personal playthrough, I am... Oh boy, where am I on my personal playthrough? I am just now getting to the Underdark in my personal playthrough. So just, a bit ahead of where we are, obviously, in these two live streams here, but still, not a long way through it. Any tips on what classes may be good to go multi-class with a bard? Oh boy. The bard is the ultimate support character. And the one thing that the bard misses out on a bit are the offensive capabilities. So a lot of people in tabletop work with, remember, the bard's main ability score is charisma. So working with another class that shares that same charisma ability score as the main is important. So I see a lot of both warlock and sorcerer multi-classes where you get a couple of levels of bard or a few levels of bard to be able to expand your combat inspiration, and then being able to also cause damage in multiple different ways with either a sorcerer or warlock class. The warlock multi-class is with a bard is very interesting because the bards get a resting action once per long rest where they can simulate a short rest and get the warlock spell slots back. So it synergizes well with a few of those. The great thing about the game is that there's a respec option with wizards. So if you choose down the wrong path, you can just go pay a little bit of gold, go talk to withers, and change up what you've done with ability scores and class selections. So really easy to change things up. And yeah, Jack, that's exactly right. There's just infinite replayability with the encounters. Hey, Exip, thanks for joining the stream. I appreciate it. I think we're going to get ready to get started here, everybody. So again, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone, to today's live stream. Episode 6 of our Baldur's Gate 3 Bard gameplay series. I'm Commander Jorval, and I want to thank you for coming along on our journey today. So, on some admin notes, the first week of full release launch went as expected, except that the launch day was a lot better than was expected, as we kind of talked about last week. But Larian has put out 2 hotfixes already, and it's to be expected. The hotfixes are fairly minor in their scope, clearing up bug issues and UI issues and cinematic issues. For the most part, I would encourage you to go through and read through those. The hotfix patch notes, especially for 1, are fairly extensive. So, but again, nothing game-breaking or changing, just some fixes to things that were broken before the release. Expect to see more of that as we go through this, and as we get weeks through this, just expect that there's going to be more hotfixes as more players get farther through the game, and we get more eyeballs on what Larian has done with the infinitude of choices that can result in different things showing up on the screen. So be prepared for that. Just expect it. Like I say, nothing game-breaking though at this point. The next note is that Larian, if you missed it, also released a community note, a community update this week, where they published a lot of statistics about the game. I would highly encourage you to go look at it. Like I said during the chatting section before we started, it is incredibly impressive what the game has accomplished so far. The 8th highest concurrent player count ever in the history of Stream. 88 years worth of time spent by players just creating characters. Just amazing. It's just incredible, the reception that it's got. And other developers here should be worried about that. There was a lot of discussion about that before it released, and this just confirms it even more. The game is just incredible. So please go check that out and read through all the amazing stats that are in it. So, from the last admin note, just a reminder: tomorrow is episode 2 of the Paladin playthrough, the from scratch playthrough through the prologue and Act 1 that we started last week. So feel free to join in. That is from 2 to 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time, which is GMT -5 right now. So you can adjust for your time zones. But other than that, I think that kind of finishes up the admin notes from a recap. So last episode, we spent our entire time inside of the Emerald Grove, inside of the Druid's Grove there, and we picked up a bunch of quests for that. We completed a few quests for that, and as part of that, we picked up a quest to investigate Kagha, who is currently serving as the first Druid, as a replacement for Halsin, who has gone missing during an encounter with some goblins. So we headed out at the end of last live stream and went to the Harper stash and picked up some items, and one of the most OP items in the game. And we took a long rest and had some conversations, and that brings us right to where we are here. So we open up our mini-map and look, the Emerald Grove area up here, all of the hollow, the area around it, we've explored those areas of the grove, and here we are, and we're going to be heading out back down here and heading out toward the west. And as part of that, we're going to loop our way down and make our way down here to this quest objective for Investigate Kagha. And if we look through our journal, the Investigate Kagha quest here is what we're going to go do. For those of you who are familiar with this area, we are...
Then through.
It is unchanged around the tree from what you saw in early access, with one very important difference in that the combat is quite a bit more difficult. And we are probably going to be a little under-leveled for this. We are level 3 on all of our characters. So we're probably going to be a little bit under-leveled for this, but we do want to investigate Kagha, head back to the Grove, and complete that quest before we move out into the rest of the wilderness and Risen Road areas. So we're going to make sure we get that completed. So we're going to head out this way, and the first thing we're going to do is head over here toward this bridge area, and you can see we have some mugwort we can pick up.
This is a howling wasteland. I haven't even had a bath since the abduction.
And yeah, Philip, about the psi on the dice, you will be able... we'll try and point it out again. It does happen with the fire-branded dice as well. I have experienced it quite a bit, so we'll try and point it out as we go here, and see what we can find. But I'll try and point it out as we go. So, the bridge here, and looking over this bottom pathway here, we are certainly going to end up going over this bridge toward the Blighted Village up here. However, we're going to bypass some of that for a little bit. Pick up some more mugwort and some more rogue's morsel, and you can see in front of us we have an encounter that we're going to have to work through up here, and that's why we're getting this quick save.
Something's wrong.
So we'll make our way around here. Just make sure we didn't miss anything down here. Doesn't look like we did. So Lae'zel is not with us. Great. Thank you, Lae'zel. I appreciate you not following along with everybody else.
Onward.
And somebody told me that they didn't think the pathing was as bad as in the game was as bad as I was making it out to be. Like I say, with the hundreds of hours I've got in the game, I will respectfully disagree with you.
Keep going.
Okay, so we're going to go up here to deal with this encounter, and this encounter needs to be handled. Well,
I don't know.
I'm not gonna say anything. We'll just go up here and we'll deal with the encounter as we go here.
You're a true soul. You can't die. Please, stay with us.
I don't think he's conscious. Can you hear us, Ed?
You, not a step closer.
A strange symbol glows, marked on their flesh, and something within you stirs in response.
Okay, so we've talked about the Ilithid powers before. I'm going to use the wisdom option down here. It's got a DC of 2. You're not going to see those DC zeros pop up anymore. But what that means is that with my Jack of all trades, the only way I can fail it is with a natural 1. So if I roll anything else, I'm going to pass it. So rolled as low as I possibly could and still pass it.
I'm so sorry. It's our brother, True Soul Edowin. He's injured, and I wasn't thinking.
Something stirs deep within you, hungry and alert. It's taking something you'll never get back. The injured man locks eyes with you. The parasite writhes in your head.
Okay, so here we're going to hold his stare.
Your minds intertwine. You see his siblings, Andric and Brenna, new recruits. Yours to shepherd.
Protect them.
Mind the true soul. She will... She...
Edwin! Ed! Please!
He's with the Absolute now.
A true soul. Thank the Absolute. Edwin, our brother, he was chosen. Like you.
Do you have orders for us? We were reporting to Edowin. We know that all too well, ma'am, but the Absolute sent us here.
We're looking for fugitives. Survivors from that ship that crashed farther west of here. We don't know what they look like, but anyone who survived that crash is bound to be injured. That's enough to get us started. The Absolute wants them found. At any cost. An Owlbear. It had him on the ground before we had a chance to react. We managed to drag him away, but the beast's claws had already done their work. I told Edwin not to look in that cave. It was filthy with Owlbear tracks. What? And just leave Ed? I suppose he'd want us to go on. Find a way to honor his sacrifice.
May the Absolute guide us.
They spoke of the Absolute. Same as that goblin, Saza. Curious.
Okay, so you can play that encounter.
Deity, whoever they are.
You can play that encounter multiple ways, including getting into combat with them. I just see them more as misguided individuals who are following their brother, and chose to play it a different way. But everybody wants to be talked to here.
So the tadpole gives us the ability to influence others.
Ignore it. Deny it. This is nothing but a disease, and every use will sicken us further.
Nonsense. Any power freely given is a power well received, and this is a valuable power indeed.
A power born of Ilithids is not one to take lightly. Its value is unproven.
These choices with this party makeup, there's no way you're going to be able to satisfy everybody. And that's because Lae'zel just wants to get rid of it, wants to have nothing to do with it. Astarion is the opposite. He wants to learn how to use it and how to control it. And Will understands that there are dangers involved, but it needs to be understood. So it doesn't matter which of these choices you end up making, somebody's going to approve and somebody's going to disapprove of your action here. So, like I say, doesn't really matter. It's just, who do you want to go down a little bit and see how it works.
Well chosen. Never dive into unknown waters without dipping a toe.
Okay. So, here for Edowin, we're going to search Edowin here, and this is going to start something and start us down a path.
Strange power resonates within the corpse. It calls to you. Your limbs move of their own accord. There's something of value here, something your mind craves. Why let its host's memories go to waste? The tadpole has absorbed it all. Its experience could nourish you, strengthen you.
Okay. So, you have some options here as to how you want to go about your playthrough. Like I say, you can't completely ignore the entire tadpole situation. and not have anything to do with the powers or the influence they can grant. So you can resist any influences here from the Ilithid parasite. I am not going to do that. I'm going to choose this first option.
Things abandon their hosts as soon as they need to. Vile parasites.
Okay, and you see that we got a Mind Flayer parasite specimen here. So if you go to your inventory, this is what you picked up. You are going to have the opportunity to find several of these, multiples of these throughout the game. And they have a very specific use that we do not have access to right now at this time. If you want to explore the options that come with the powers that the Ilithid Tadpole has, you're going to need to collect these to unlock those abilities. So, and you don't have to go all in with them. You can unlock just a couple, you can unlock half of them, you can unlock just one of them. It doesn't really matter. You're going to have the opportunity to pick them up, and like I say, if you want to go through that exploration of powers, you need to start looking for them. There are enough of them throughout the game to be able to get Ilithid powers for both you and your party members, the origin characters. However, some of them are going to need convincing to be able to utilize some of those powers, because some of them may be mortally against having anything to do with them. But nothing that we can do with it right now. We have not unlocked that ability at this point. So for now, just know that you have it and store them up for use later on. You can search Edowin here, and we picked up a shaft of a broken spear. And for all of this, I'm going to send these to the camp. One thing that was pointed out to me, I know I tested this beforehand, before we started the Bard playthrough, but talk about it again, the shift click. I had said previously that there was no control click to remove items. It seems that there is. I'm going to hold control and left click, and it removes it. I think what clued me or got me wrong was that I didn't move my mouse. So if you left click, control left click, the box stays there. It doesn't go away until you move your mouse off of it. So it doesn't act like a normal Windows control click does, but it does. There is control click. You just have to move your mouse off of the item to see it. So that makes the inventory management quite a bit easier than I was explaining earlier. So thank you for pointing that out to me, and I said I'd make sure I corrected it here on the stream. So now we've searched Edowin here. We do also have the opportunity, and Will has it.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
Looking for weapon, the absolute. Crashed from the sky, taken by infidels. Do not fight her. Power, such power. sister, brother. My job to protect them.
The spell's power wanes. You can ask no more questions.
Okay, so we got some bare bones information about the Absolute from there, but really this is an opportunity to talk about the Speak with the Dead spell. Remember that the way we're able to cast it is because of the Amulet of Lost Voices that we picked up. Anybody can wear this amulet, anybody can cast the Speak with the Dead spell. The thing about, and he needs to equip the Ring of Color Spray that I forgot. The thing about this amulet is that once you've cast the spell one time, you do not have to keep the amulet equipped. You don't even have to have it on the same character. You could move it to a completely different character and have them cast Speak with the Dead. You will have the recast option as an action until your long rest. So, if you come out of your camp, it's a good idea to find a dead body, even if it's not one that you can actually talk to just cast Speak with the Dead on, and then you can remove the amulet, replace it with another more useful amulet that you might have in your inventory, and you always have that available to you. And the thing about it is that you're going to see that other dead bodies that you encounter, they will be outlined in green, showing you that you can speak with that target. So it makes it a lot easier to find out who you can actually talk to. That is going to be able to respond to the Speak with Dead spell. So as soon as you come out of your camp, as part of your preparations, if you have a dead body near you, always cast that spell just so you have it sitting in the background and waiting for you. Oh, where did I get the cape that I'm wearing for my bard? That's...
Still alive, so...
The Cape of the Red Prince is part of the digital deluxe edition for the game. For those of us who bought the game in early access, we were automatically upgraded to the digital deluxe edition, and that came with several clothing items and armor items and that sort of stuff, and a weapon, I guess, as well, that were in your camp chest when you came in, and the Cape of the Red Prince is one of them. The Mask of the Shapeshifter also came in that pack, and you're actually going to see this a little bit later. Allows you to cast the Shapeshift spell, and it's actually, really interesting to use. But for now, that's, like I say, that's where those two items came from. There's also two other clothing items and another weapon item that you get out of there that just weren't as useful, so I don't carry them around. But yeah, that's where the cape came from, is from the digital deluxe edition. You won't start seeing capes until a bit farther down the road, I don't believe. So, can I know your specs? I'm struggling to run the game with an i7 and a 3060. I have a fairly powerful PC just built in the past year. I'm running a 3080 Ti, and that is kind of where that extra graphical power comes from. I'm also running, I believe, I'd have to go look and see what the AMD processor is, what series it is. But yeah, it was fairly top of the line when my PC was built, and partially subsidized by part of my beta testing contracts that I do. So, was able to fortunately bump it up to much higher specs. So, but that's too bad that you're having to struggle to run it with a 3060. Is certainly nothing to to sneeze at. So they were talking about running it on 2060s and that sort of stuff. So you might look for some hints about your graphical settings and that sort of stuff and see if we can get things turned down a little bit, maybe. So I'm going to just walk through here and pick up some items and some of these alchemy ingredients. and we're just going to make our way down here. We are going to be coming back this way, so don't think that I'm neglecting what's there. There's just a dead end down here, so we want to make sure that we're exploring all of this. Oh, thank you, Walkman. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a much slower playthrough than what you're going to see from most of the other big content creators that are streaming. But my playthroughs tend to be much more instructional in nature. They're meant for, hopefully, those players who have no experience with tabletop, and you can learn some of the mechanics to make the game a little bit more enjoyable for you. But at the same time, hopefully even people who have played the game quite a bit maybe learn some things here and there that they might have missed or might not have seen in their playthroughs. So I certainly appreciate it. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I get a little bit involved in the playthrough and don't check my comments nearly as much when I'm in the middle of combat or specific encounters, but if I see them, I will certainly try to answer. So now, crossing the river here, we basically come to a crossroad. We can go one of three ways. We have a way to head up here. We have another way to head up this cragged rock into this area. And we have another way in front of us to a cave mouth. And that's where we're going to go first.
Owlbear tracks. Its nest must be nearby.
Okay, so we passed the survival check. The survival check is a DC of 0. So, unless all of your characters in your party roll a nat 1, somebody's going to pass the survival check here. They want you to know that there's owlbear tracks here and that they lead into this cave. And that's exactly where we're going to go.
Seems simple enough.
That is true. You are going to see me, Pete, open up almost every crate. You're going to see me explore and open up every accessible area of the mini-map while I'm going, that I clear out that fog of war, that black locked off area entirely, just to make sure that we're not missing anything and that we can find all of the different areas. I didn't mean to click on her. In the game, because you never know what you're going to find around the next corner. So here coming up, and again, we've talked about how I move in short bursts in areas that I haven't explored before. So that's what you're seeing here. Heavy stone we don't need, but we will pick up the gold. We come to a crossroads. We have two different ways to go. And if we look out here, we have this area here. And we're actually not going to do this area first. We're going to come back to this area. We're going to continue on our way down here, holding Alt as we go. Okay, we have a waterfall area over here. You can see that we can walk fairly far out, but we only get to about this point. And then we have this area where the waterfall continues on down into that area we just saw. So we're going to continue this way, and I'm going to take Will for this. And you can see what we're going to encounter here.
You feel the quake of its heavy footsteps before you see it. An owlbear, its beaked face looming out of the darkness.
Okay, so the reason that I brought Will here is because you do have an opportunity for an animal handling check. The performance check is going to be higher to pass this. I do not have Speak with Animals spell. After I came out of the long rest, that disappeared, and I do not have another potion on me. It doesn't matter, though, whether you can speak with animals or not during this encounter. You have multiple ways to play this. So, and for those of you who have played early access before, it doesn't matter whether you choose this to be a combat encounter or a nice encounter. It does not matter. One way or another, the Owlbear Cub is going to end up in the Goblin camp. It's just whether you deal with the Owlbear mother here or whether the goblins deal with her later. So it doesn't really matter how you play this from that perspective. So I'm going to try an animal handling check here and just see how it goes. It's a high DC. I can add in guidance on top of it. So with a 3 to 6 bonus, I still need a really high roll here to make sure that I get it to work. And I got it. I didn't hear the little hiss sigh beforehand, so I knew I was going to pass it.
The owlbear's one good eye flicks away for a moment. You follow its glance and see an owlbear cub.
Okay, and this is part of it to make sure that you recognize that there's an owlbear cub here that she's trying to protect.
The owlbear stares, then sharply inhales your scent. It sits back, its eyes still fixed on you. A silent ultimatum. You can leave now, or step closer, and die.
Okay, so that's where you end up, is right now that the owlbear is tolerant of our movements for a little bit, but if you move around in here, you're going to trigger combat with the owlbear. We are actually going to do that. We are just going to try and do it a little bit stealthily here as we go. Now, this encounter is a little different from early access in that you can't cheese it like you used to be able to. And I'll explain that as we go here. So, what I'm going to do is move a couple of characters up here to the high ground. And then I'm going to leave a couple of characters down here.
Have to keep going.
Okay.
Can't slow down.
And you're okay up there to a certain point. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing with Will. And then we'll start this thing off.
One move ahead.
Okay. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and start this off as I normally do with Astarion. And I'm going to take Lae'zel and move her up here into this area. I'm going to wait for the owlbear to kind of move back over there a little bit, just because I don't want to get too close. Because where the owlbear moves is going to determine how I play Lae'zel's interaction with this. Okay, so now I'm going to start this off with a sneak attack ranged. Oh, I've got disadvantage here. Because she's out of range.
Move unseen. Very, very quiet.
Okay. So roll initiative. We all rolled fairly well, and the owlbear and the cub are both surprised, so we have one full turn of combat here before she's able to do anything. And fortunately, she turned toward Lae'zel, so Lae'zel's gonna have some movement issues here to deal with. But for now, let's actually try and get that taken care of. So she can't move all the way down there and get into melee range. So that's why you jump with her to decrease how far she has to move. So jump, here's a bonus action. So we're gonna move her down here. Then I can move her into melee range, and I can try a menacing attack to start with. Okay, that did some good damage. I'm going to action surge. Going to get another menacing attack. So yeah, now the owlbear's frightened, so the owlbear can't move, and it can't take reactions. So it's stuck attacking Lae'zel at this point, which is exactly what I want it to do. In the past, you could just sneak everybody up here to this upper level, and the owlbear would just stay down there. That is not the case in them anymore. I don't know if it shows it in the examine menu. They do not. The owlbear can now kind of jump fly all the way up here. And the first time I played it and moved all of my squishy characters up here, and then the owlbear jumped right up here in the middle of all of us and started tearing everybody up, it was a bit of a surprise. So don't fall for that like you could in the early access cheesing it up here. You can't do that. She will fly right up here and start going after you. So at this point, we've gotten the owlbear quite a bit down, and we're going to concentrate on Hunter's Mark. This is from the short bow that we're carrying. And now I'm going to just do a regular attack here. Okay, and it did that 13 piercing damage. So you can see that we rolled a 6 out of 1d6. So we got some really high rolls on our damage there from both that and a 4 out of a 1d6 piercing damage from Hunter's Mark. So we got some good damage rolls there. So that finishes up her turn. For Astarion, Astarion has... So the cub is facing that way, so I should be able to cunning action hide here. And see... Boy, I might not be able to get close enough here to use my second bonus action, because my movement speed is going to be severely decreased coming through the mud. So something I didn't plan on when I've got one bonus action left. So since I'm not dual wielding hand crossbows, yeah, I'm not dual wielding them. I don't have a bonus action attack from there. So we'll just move up here. And yeah, see, my movement speed's dropping all the way down. So I can't get close enough, I don't think. No. I'm just short. So doesn't really matter though. He's not going to be useful here any at all during this. So because Will is going to be able to end this with an Eldritch Blast. Well, he won't be able to... Well, he might with his Charisma modifier with a 75% chance to hit. We'll see how well he does.
Looks from you to his dead mother. A single strike will end his suffering. You watch, speechless, as the cub begins to eat his mother.
The cub has
Okay.
a fighting chance now.
So that's the outcome that you're looking for. I know we went and attacked an owlbear out in the, middle of, without really provoking it. We had the opportunity to walk away, and you can. You can actually walk away from that encounter entirely and just walk out and not have a fight with the owlbear. What will happen, though, is two things. One, the owlbear is still, well, you don't know if it dies or not. However, the owlbear cub has been taken away from its mother, and you will still meet the owlbear cub in the goblin camp. Doesn't matter if you kill the mother or not. The cub's going to be removed from its mother. The thing that you will miss out on, however, is if you search, you have the head of a broken spear that you can take from the owlbear's eye. They tried to stab it, the head of that spear broke off, and you can now take it. So, I'm going to, again, go with Will here.
Oblivious to your presence, the cub continues to gorge himself on his dead mother.
Okay, so no more interactions down here with anything in this place, but that's how I play out this encounter. Like I said, you have multiple ways to do it, but I would prefer to pick up those 2 items. And the reason for it is because now I have these 2 items. If you right-click, you have an option to combine them. And you can combine the shaft of the spear with the head of the spear and click Combine. And you now come up with Vision of the Absolute. Vision of the Absolute is going to be extraordinarily useful a little bit later on in our playthrough here. One, it's a spear, and that means it's a versatile weapon. You can wield it either one-handed or two-handed, and the damage changes. Two-handed is 1d8, single-handed is 1d6, but it comes with the Absolute Knight perk, and that means that if you hit a target and they fail a dexterity saving throw, that target is going to be blind. Blind means that all of that enemy's attacks have disadvantage against you, and all of attacks against that blinded creature have advantage. So incredibly powerful to be able to blind a character. The other thing that it comes with is that it deals an additional 2 to 12 piercing damage to certain creatures that sport multiple sets of eyes. Creatures with multiple sets of eyes are like spiders, ettins, things like that, spectators, beholders, all of those sort of things. So your 1d8 turns into 1d8 plus an additional 2d6 of damage. And that extra damage scales with things like critical hits and that sort of stuff. So against certain types of enemies, Vision of the Absolute can be really powerful early game. So as such, I'm going to have Lae'zel carry that around and just store that in her inventory for now. What I am going to also do is just keep a shield in her inventory just for now. It doesn't matter what type of shield it is. So that way when you get into certain encounters, you can have her swap over to Vision of the Absolute and put the shield on, and her armor class goes up to 18, and she's able to do more damage with it than the Everburn Blade against those specific types of enemies. So, can be incredibly useful situationally. So, do you have any recommendations on navigating without a map or mini-map? No matter what I do, it's just black. That bug has been well documented. Some people have said that if you restart a few times, then it corrects itself. I have not looked very much into it to see whether or not there is an official Larian statement about fixing it and that sort of stuff. So I apologize. I don't know. I have not encountered it in any of my playthroughs. So I can't tell you what's worked for me, but I do know that several people have stated that if you just restart the game several times, it will come back on its own sometimes. So, but that's all I can give you. And Pete, that's good to know because, like I say, I haven't gotten that far in my personal playthrough, one way or another, the owlbear mother is going to die. But it looks like you can still loot the spearhead afterwards. You just have to maybe come back to this location and look for it after some long rests or something like that. So, but yeah, one way or another, getting the spear. This also gets me the XP because of it. That 25 XP as well. So we're going to go through here and just do some searching, and then we're going to head down to that area that we looked at earlier. Okay, the Oak Father's Embrace. We're going to pick that up, and we'll talk about it here in a minute. Pork loin and the owlbear egg.
I do. An owlbear egg. These are supposed to be worth a fortune.
Okay, and now let's not forget that we have a short sword and a skeleton over here. The owlbear's been busy. And we do have a backpack up here that we can search. Okay, we've got a supply pack, which again we'll always send off to camp. We're going to pick up the backpack and add it to our wares so we can sell it. And then make our way around here. Oh, just so you are aware, we'll go... Actually, I'll split the group. And I'll take Lae'zel up here and just illustrate this.
Without delay.
Again, talking about the verticality in this game. Paying attention to your minimap and moving your camera around, there's a whole upper area up here. So once you're up here, you can move over here, you can jump across, and you can explore now this area up here, which is opened up on your minimap. Again, holding Alt while you go, and you can look around this area. Now, right now, there's nothing up here to find or to look at. It's just a large open area for higher ground combat that you can explore and move your characters around during the combat sequence if the owlbear gets a turn and actually moves up here to the high ground with your other characters. It allows you some freedom of movement up here.
Have a lot on my mind. And, well...
So we're going to toggle our group mode again, and we're going to head down this way. Sit on the owlbear egg and see if it hatches. Pretty good. So, around here we have another heavy stone. We have some...
More owlbear eggs already hatched. No point in taking these.
Okay, so those are just hatched eggs. And now we're going to move our way down here into this area.
Look at that.
Okay, so our religion check failed for everybody. That's not a big deal. It just explains what this is. If you have what this statue is. If you have Shadowheart in your party, you're going to get a little bit more interesting dialogue options here. So I'm going to toggle my group. I'm concentrating on Hunter's Mark right now, so I'm actually going to have Will cast Guidance on my bard. If I cast Guidance on myself using the amulet, then I lose the concentration on Hunter's Mark. So my Arcana check failed as well. And we can come down to this area, and I'm going to immediately jump across. Okay, and my perception check was successful to find the prayer sheet back here. So you can read it. Basically a prayer to Selune, which is what the statue is of.
What's this symbol on it?
And I'm going to pick it up. There's also a book here that you can read, which basically just gives you a little bit of a hint that Selune and Shar are on opposite sides of a conflict between the gods, so to speak. And that plays more into, like I say, what you're going to find out much later on in the playthrough. And this tells you more that they were basically at war with each other. But again, you can pick that up and add it to your wares. We have a potion of healing. We can hold alt. You can see there's a potion of animal speaking. Scroll of detect thoughts. There's also a glass chalice down here and some other things that you can pick up. Now, if you go to open this, you can see that the chest up there has Selune's seal on it. And Selune's seal is a protective shield around the chest that deals 4 to 24 radiant damage to any heretics that touch it. So if you just walk up and try and open this chest, I'm going to take some damage. However, if I stand here and I read the prayer sheet...
My prayers are answered.
That removes Selune's seal from the gilded chest. And now I can feel free to open the chest itself. So I have an idol here, a bloodstone, a Selunite rite, which again you can read, and talks about a rite for worshippers of Selune. And the Mood Maiden's silvery glow, you're going to find out more about that in lore later on. And you get the Moondrop pendant. So we're going to pick that up. And now we can group everybody back up. And we can head out of this area. But before we do, we're also going to look at the items that we picked up. So we're going to head up here and... Yes, that's... and that's part of what Hunter's Mark does. Hunter's Mark, Hex, and a couple others, as long as you continue concentrating on it. So you can see that I'm concentrating on Hunter's Mark. As long as you continue concentrating on it, with your bonus action, you can reapply it. So that's why when you're in combat with Hunter's Mark and Hex, if you want to utilize them to their fullest ability, when you kill an enemy, the concentration stays active, and using your bonus action, you can then reapply it to a different target in combat. So it makes it easy to, as soon you kill an enemy, and then as soon as your next turn starts, you can use your bonus action to reapply it and then attack. Or if you killed it with your action, you can use your bonus action on that turn to apply it to another enemy and start your turn attacking that enemy right off the bat. But it is concentration. So if I cast another spell like Cloud of Daggers, then my ability to reapply Hunter's Mark goes away. And I would have to recast it as, well, in this case not, because it comes from the short bow. But if I was casting as a spell, I would have lost that spell slot, and I would then have to recast it and lose another spell slot to bring it active again. So from that point, and yes, Lord Henry, you can. There are down here in this area, there's incense that you can, and actually I'll just go illustrate it. Might as well. I'm here. And I'll just take my bard down there and pick it up. Throughout the game, if you want to maximize your gold, you can sell, you just pick up everything that you can. In theory, you do not have a carry weight limit because of the Traveler's Chest that this game has. In tabletop, no dungeon master would let you get away with this. But if you wanted to pick up everything, every cup, every bowl, even though it only sells for 1 gold, you certainly can. Just take all. When your carry weight gets high enough, you can select all of those items and you can right-click and send them to your camp. Or I can send them to Lae'zel, who has a higher carry weight, and they can just sit in my camp. And then when I get ready to go to a vendor, I can just make several trips to my camp here, pull it out of my Traveler's Chest, go back, exit out of camp, and I'm right back at the vendor where I was. And you can sell entire inventories and full carry weights worth of items. So in my personal playthrough, that's what I am doing. I'm just looting everything. Here, you're going to see me leaving some things on the ground, just because I don't want to spend the time to do all of that on stream. It's fairly boring to see me just sell a bunch of useless items. But yes, Lord Henry's exactly correct. You can pick up a bunch of items and just sell them all and maximize your gold. So now we've gotten to this area here, and I do have a potion of animal speaking, and I am going to take that potion of animal speaking. That's going to last until my long rest, so through any encounter that I have with animals, now I'm going to have the ability to speak with them. And I'm going to make my way up this side over here and climb up the cragged rock. When I'm up here, I'm just going to venture around. You can see that I have an area down here on a dock, which is going to walk me around here. Okay, good. I didn't have any of those. I didn't actually want to go that way. I wanted to do something else first. And I'm taking all the fish. I'm going to search the wicker basket. Got some rotten cheese that I don't need. And again, you can pick up these buckets. There's a fishing rod that's down here you can pick up. All that sort of stuff that you can just turn around and sell later on if you'd like. So there's abundant gold laying around if you choose to avail yourself of it. I'm going to make my way around here, and there's a berry bush. And you can pull raspberries off of these, and you're going to find berry bushes all over the place over here. Again, some rogue's morsels and some mugwort. And making my way farther down this way, I have some blush-cap mushrooms, and there's a hunter stash here on the ground. Nothing in it. Looting the mushrooms here. Okay, nothing else back here. And now you can see what I meant by if you're able to use Speak with the Dead after you've cast the spell and you have the recast action available, and dead creatures that are able to interact with you with that spell are going to be glowing green. So it makes it much easier for you to tell who you're able to talk to with that spell once it's active for the very first time. So now I'm going to go talk to Scratch here. And I'm going to be very careful about clicking on Scratch.
Keep moving, stranger. Quietly. I told you to go.
Okay, so now we have some options here, and being a bard and the choices we made, we have some serious advantages to all of these. So I'm going to try first a perception check here, but persuasion is a much better way to go from this, but I'm going to try and peer at his collar first and just try this way. And well, actually, you know what? I won't. Since I'm speaking with animals here, I might as well just try the persuasion check. So it's a DC of 15. I have a +7 to a bonus. I can add in guidance again. So I have an 8 to 11 out of 15, so I've got a pretty good chance of passing this.
There's death in your scent, but not in your words. Still, you should go. My friend is injured. He needs rest. Of course he will, and then we'll return home. He calls me Scratch. You can do the same. We were attacked with cackling, furry things on 2 legs. And their smell, it was strange, rotten, evil.
You know the creatures he describes. Gnolls.
Okay, So at this point, you're left with these two options. If you shout at his corpse, you've seen what happens in a previous playthrough if you do that. If you want to do that, feel free. Especially if you are the Dark Urge. But for me, I'm going to say that he can travel with me if he likes.
No, I won't leave him. If it comes to that, I may. Thank you.
Okay. And now we can cast Speak with the Dead on Gomwick here.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
Run, Fleetfoot, Courier Company. From Trail. Let us delivery to Baldur's Gates. In Bank Standard Issue. Pack of Knolls, claws, teeth.
The spell's power wanes. You can ask no more questions.
Okay, so there's a courier from Baldur's Gate. The other thing that changed after we talked to Scratch is that before we talked to Scratch, Gomwick was marked as a steal. He was outlined in red. And if you try and walk up and search his body, then Scratch will get angry about it. That's why I was very careful when I was trying to click on Scratch while he was moving, not to click on Gomwick. But now that we've made friends and talked to Scratch here, you can actually search Gomwick.
What's hiding here?
So we do have some camp supplies that we're going to send off. We have some leather boots which don't really matter, and we have 3 letters here, and we're just going to take all on those for now. And now we can continue looking around and just opening up the mini-map here, making sure that we're not missing anything.
One day I'll catch a break.
Okay. And we're going to make our way down here. And we're going to kind of get ready for this. So we're going to split our group. I'm going to have Will cast Guidance on my bard. And I'm going to walk her up this direction. Okay. Maybe I'm confusing this area with another one. We'll see, maybe... Oh. Okay, yes, I am. So, we'll be dealing with that here in a second, I think. So we're going to walk around and just make sure that we don't have any other crafting ingredients or alchemy ingredients on the ground. And we got some XP here for, like I say, getting this close to the blighted village here. Okay, so interesting. So we're going to have
the people.
Will cast Guidance, and we're just going to move farther forward here and do some more exploring. So interesting that we see the boar there.
Strange. It looks healthy, but it's stone.
That is very, very strange. Sorry, I'm just trying to reconcile previous playthroughs with this one, because now that I think about it, I'm not missing this. Maybe I'm just getting senile in my old age here. I distinctly remember there being a very hard to find dirt mount over here. I guess that's not the case. I just walked around this entire area and I didn't fail any checks, so maybe I'm just missing it. Maybe I'm just thinking about something else. Oh boy, maybe I'm just getting old. So we will pick up some more alchemy ingredients, and this is the other way up here from down below that we talked about earlier, so just made a big circle here. And now we run into the exsanguinated boar, so we can take a look at this, and Astarian's in our party. Okay, so we have some camp supplies here.
The pig's dead, my friend. Staring at it won't bring it back. Come on. We'll never fix these brainworms if we stop and gawk at every piece of carrion you find.
Do have a medicine check here. And I failed. But, well, actually we have 4 inspirations. We don't want to keep ourselves at 4. We always want to have less than that. So I have a roll to waste here. So might as well.
The boar seems to be fresh, only a few hours dead. Examining the corpse, you see 2 small puncture wounds in its neck.
And is it dead enough for you?
So now we have some rather interesting options here to Astarian. So we'll try and persuasion here. And I rolled a 1. Boy, do I want to. Yeah, I'm going to get a couple of inspirations here in a bit. My first one of the playthrough, everybody. Got it out of the way here, so.
It's been drained of blood with wounds in its neck. It's been killed by a vampire. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to worry you. They are ferocious creatures. But don't worry. I'll keep watch tonight. We won't have to worry about nocturnal visitors. Now please, let's go.
So Astarian wants to get out of here at all costs. And if you're not familiar, like I say, there's a reason that he wants to do that. We have another hunter stash up here. So very weird.
Dead travelers.
I just have this incredible sense of deja vu that there should be something here I should be looking for, but I just don't see it yet. So at this point, we've explored all the way down here. We can now have the opportunity to head into the Blighted Village, or we can skirt the village and head off this way, and that's what we're going to go do. We are not going to go through the Blighted Village yet, but we can do some searching of these goblins here. Okay, so we have a goblin's drawing here that's marked as a quest item. We can read it. It's basically a child's drawing. that shows 3 figures: a goblin with sparks in its hands, a square humanoid figure, and what seems to be an elf. Each of them is wearing a simple crown. You're going to learn more about that later on in the playthrough when we get to some encounters in the goblin camp. So we do have some camp supplies here, so we can send all of those to camp and then take all. We can take the scimitar. Take all on that. And again, take all on that. And then we can work our way back across the bridge, just because we did not cross the bridge. So we can send all those camp supplies off, and we're going to do the same thing here, because there's going to be... Did I split that item? Yes. Send to camp, not split it. Because there's going to be a bunch of camp supplies here that we can pick up. So we do have some cutlery that's worth some money. And some other items in these chests here that we can again pick up and sell later on. So we do have a burlap sack down here. Don't forget to search it for some more camp supplies. And now we've crossed over the entire bridge area. Normally you find the exsanguinated boar here. We just found it in a different spot, so it looks like it can move around the map a little bit. So now we're going to make our way around this area and pick up a rogue's morsel. We'll come back and pick up all these items at the gate later. Well, actually, I'm here. So I'm going to take guidance from Will, because there's going to be a perception check here.
What to do? How much farther
I can go pick up these alchemy supplies real quick while it's still running, while guidance is still active. Then I can head up here to the gate.
Something's waiting
And I got a perception check that I can now found an ambush. It's a DC of 15. So you need... Oh, actually... Oh, Will failed a perception check. When did he fail a perception check? He must have got close enough while we were walking around to fail it. That's interesting. Just looking to see if I missed something. No. Once I got there, everybody got that check at the same time. That's why. So it lets you know that there's something going on in here, and that something is basically, it lets you know that there are goblins that are ambushing you in here. If you fail that perception check, you're not going to know they're there, and you're going to have to find them on your own through other methods. So otherwise, they will do what they say. They will ambush you, and you have the opportunity to possibly be surprised, depending upon how you play that encounter. Hey, Premkus, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. So now we're going to, like I said, make our way down here around this way, and we're going to skirt the Blighted Village. We are not going to go through that yet. Oh, wait a minute. Now I'm having more deja vu. It might be up here where I was experiencing that. So I'm just going to look foolish until I find out where this dirt mound is. That's basically it. So I'm going to, again, cast guidance and take the person with the best chance of passing this perception check.
Wonder if the gods are watching.
Okay, there it is. I knew there was one here. The perception check for this dirt mound is a DC of 20. It is incredibly hard to find. Even with my proficiency and my guidance adding in there, which is what ended up being a +5, I still rolled an 18. I would have had to have rolled a 15 or higher even with that, to pass. So it's an incredibly hard dirt mound to find. So split your party, ask guidance on the highest wisdom character you have, or anybody who has perception proficiency, and walk them up here one at a time. If they fail the check, walk them back, cast it on somebody else, and do it one at a time. If you just march everybody past it all at once, then nobody's going to have a buff, and you might fail all 4 of those checks before you even realize it's there. So, if I go and dig this up, you can now look inside this chest, and this is where you find the fleet fingers. And this is why this chest is in particular, or hard to find, is because there's a special magical item in here. I can send all of these to camp, and I'm going to take all on these. It's basically a potion that triples your jump distance, a featherfall potion, some holy water, which does radiant damage when you throw it, some decent arrows, a grease bottle, and the fleet fingers. And again, we're going to talk about all of our items here in just a second. So now that I've passed that, I can make my way back down this direction. And again, just moving in small movements like I always do, but there's nothing down here to find. There is, however, another berry bush.
Traps, please.
And berry bushes do not show up on holding left alt. So you have to move your mouse around to find them. But they are spread all throughout this area. Okay, so now I can go pick up the bone caps. And that unlocked a new crafting recipe. And now here, I'm again going to toggle my group mode, have Will cast guidance on my bard, and take her around. Not you, Will.
No one stopped me yet.
Take her around here to loot the rogue's morsel. And when she does, she found this burrow here, which has a backpack in it. And now if I look inside the backpack, there's 179 gold. Okay. So just giving you guys some heads up on where some of these searchable things, and yes, that's right, except the honeycombs are going to be the same way that you see in the beehives. Where you can get honeycomb as camp supplies. And I think there was probably another one that I missed back on the other side, but again, I'm not too worried about it.
At the ready.
So those 2 chests, or those 2 things that you need to get a perception check to pass, take some special care with them, because there can be a lot of gold there, and some items for the taking. And like I say, we're going to go through them here in a second. But for now, I just want to finish opening up this area, opening up the mini-map a little bit. If you head up this way, you get closer to the camp, and there are going to be a couple of goblins here guarding this entrance. We don't want to aggravate them at this particular point, so we're going to keep walking around this way. And you can see now that we have a couple of people down here in an encounter that we're going to deal with. It's been a while since I saved, so make sure if anything crashes that I've got a save to go back to. There's a hunter stash here. Nothing in it. And again, I have some rogue's morsel here.
Do you harass every old woman you meet?
And some mugwort over here. We're not going to open up this direction. This direction is what leads you around toward the goblin camp. We will be saving that for a while. We're definitely going to clear out the blighted village and do some other things before we go to the goblin camp. And now you can see we have Auntie Ethel down here. She's in conversation with these 2, so we'll move down this way.
lads, for the love of all that is holy, I've never clapped eyes on your poor sister.
Drop the act, hag. You was the last to see Meyrina.
Just let her go. Please.
Thank goodness you're here, sweetie. I don't know what's come over these boys.
Stop this! We won't ask again.
Okay, so I failed my insight check here. But let's just go ahead through some dialogue options.
Careful! Don't trust a word out of her mouth. Our sister went to the hag, and we ain't seen her since.
Hand over heart, I don't know their sister. I will gladly help you all look for her, though.
Enough. Where is she?
Bollocks! You were supposed to rush to my defense, love. Fat lot of good you are. Some advice? You ever darken my door, you'd best have that head bowed and an apology at the ready. Bye-bye now.
Bloody hells. She just disappeared. Ain't seen nothing like that before.
She could shoot fireworks out of her backside for all I care. The hag has Brina.
It's our sister, Meyrina. She's... well... she was in a bad way after her husband died.
Started saying weird things, like how she was gonna bring him back.
Next thing, she's gone looking for the hag. Of all the stupid things to do. And we haven't seen her since. And no good ever came from dealing with a hag.
None of this matters, all right? We need to get her back, and fast!
Okay, so there's been a lot of discussion on this quest, even before, or even during early access, about how to interact with these two. There's only one thing to do that has a somewhat favorable outcome, and it's a cheese. There's no other way to say it. So I'm going to follow through the dialogue options here. We are not going to see what happens with these two, because like Eric's talking about, I'm not going to go through this entire side quest that deal with these two brothers. I'm only here to look at a particular section of the swamp first. We are way underleveled to be going in and dealing with this side quest, so we're going to go level up some more before we get to any of this. But this interaction does have an impact on what's going to happen later, but the outcome is always the same as far as how this is supposed to play out. Like I say, you can cheese it a little bit different, but either way, they're going to do the same thing here.
Are you joking? I ain't got a clue who you are. No way I'm leaving Rena to you.
But, Joel...
Not a chance. We're getting her back on our own. Now, come on.
Okay, so they are going to take off. Any of those options that you pick, they are going to take off. And they're going to head this direction. So, it is what it is. Like I say, there is a cheese to keep them from doing that. But it's not something that I'm going to explore. I try and keep my cheeses to be fairly mild, if I do any cheeses at all. I just like to play the game out as best I can without going against the made-up rules I set for myself too often. So here again, we're going to have Will cast guidance on Jorvalen.
All's well that ends. Not as bad as it could have.
Okay, and I'm going to have her walk up here.
Always room for more.
Interact with these items here. And then have her walk back down here.
A chill runs up your spine. You feel like you're being watched.
Okay, so I have an investigation check here to make. It's a DC of 20. Investigation checks are intelligence-based. I don't have anybody that is seriously intelligent high, like Will is not in my party or anything like that. So the chances of me passing this are incredibly low, but we'll see what happens. And that's a no. It's not really a cheat because it's in the game, except you can actually do those things. But it's a way to play the game in a way that makes it much easier or gets a more desirable outcome in a way that was not intended by the developers. So, you know, I don't have any moral qualms about doing it, but it's not like you are cheating. You are finding some external way to have the game do something differently, you know, by an external program or something like that. It's just a way to make things, you know, bypass what the developers intended, really. So I'm not going to roll again on this. Again, it's an incredibly high DC for it, so I'm just going to continue.
The place has a quiet sense of calm. You can't see anything strange.
If you do pass that investigation check, it will break the illusion of what this place is. But for now, we're just going to go with it. And we are going to head out. We're going to break our group and we're going to head out by ourselves here. Okay, so our perception failed there. So I thought I failed my perception check, so the DC was 15, so it was actually high. I didn't expect it to be that high. So Astarian's got a 13, he's the next highest.
The pride of the
So I'm gonna have Will cast guidance on Astarian. Take Astarian over here and see if he can manage to do this. And he failed it as well. So
Still breathing.
I'm just going to continue on here.
Light on my feet.
What you are perceiving, and you can see that there's kind of a raised walkway here. Don't venture too far off to the left or right side of that walkway. There are things.
Be wary.
Yes.
This place is
There
trapped.
are spike traps in the water here, and these spike traps do a lot of damage. I mean a lot of damage, but you can kind of just barely see the spikes here in the water. You can't see them around here, but once you perceive them, you can kind of see where they are. You do not want to step on those. Also, when you're out here, you have the barbed bulrush. You can search these, and however, every time you search it, you have to pass a sleight of hand check, or else you're going to take damage from the thorns on them. The fruit that you get from them appears to be good camp supplies, but they will actually poison you if you eat them. Okay, so not a good idea to be searching things out here. They become a lot more apparent when you're exploring this area if you pass that perception check. So I'm seeing. So I cannot jump there. So the spike trap is there. Why am I getting path is interrupted everywhere I try and jump? That's a bit strange. Because you can jump out here. I know you can because I did it the other day in my personal playthrough. But extending out here, you can actually walk around all of this out here. You cannot walk, I don't believe. We'll see. Yeah, I don't think you can actually... Well, maybe you can. I'm going to take it slow and see if I get any perception checks around here. Okay, so it doesn't look like I did. So you can walk around out here, and I don't think there are any spike traps out here in this back area. It's just up there by the crossroads and around the platform. So you can make your way out here. You can hold Alt as you go. Yeah, if you pass the check and get lucky, you will find out what this place is. And it's a really cool cinematic as well. There is a stuffed bear out here with a muddy note in it. And I'm going to pick the bear up. And you can walk back around this way and make your way back out. Okay, but the thing, like I say, to remember is when you're walking around out here, stick to the paths. And stick to the middle of the paths. This is another one of those areas where your party members, to try and stay in that diamond formation, will love to walk out wide and run into the traps. So be very careful when you're walking your characters around here. Walk straight through the middle, and then when you get to the middle point here, walk straight across it and get everybody together. Because like I say, these things will cause a lot. No, Astarian. See, and again, that click on a character portrait and it doesn't switch to the character thing starts to drive me nuts. I'm going to start using the function keys. That's another way to select your character, is to use the function keys. So she found the spike trap, which is right there. So if you can see, if you get a little bit off to the side, you can trigger that thing and it will cause a lot of damage. That's another way to select your characters, is to hit F1 through F4, and that will select F1, 2, 3, and 4 of your characters, so that you don't have to click on them and have a click not go through and have one of your characters move where you don't intend them to.
Long road ahead.
So I'm going to move around here, and you see we have a campsite that's all bloodied up.
Looks like we missed all the fun.
We're going to just pick up all of these.
Ordinary creature did this. Red caps ripped the place to pieces.
We have half-eaten apples, some pouches and backpacks that we can search. All of those can go to camp. We'll pick up the water. Holding Alt again, we have a backpack. That book is nothing special. You can add it to wares. There is, for those of you playing on Steam, there is an achievement to read like 50 different books, I think. So feel free to pick up as many books and read them as you can if you're going for Steam achievements. So we have a loot here we can pick up and sell, another half-eaten apple and another backpack with some scrolls in it, and both of those scrolls are amazing. And we're going to have Will...
Can't give up now.
Yeah, that problem with selecting the characters is... It's been a huge issue since day one. You can even see the character portrait, like, highlight. See? You can see it blink when I clicked on it. It knows that it clicked. It just refuses for some reason to register the click. It's been an annoying thing, you know, even through early access, so... So now we're going to keep making our way out here, and we're not going to head up this way. We're going to take another path over here. All right, and we're going to make our way around here. Again, holding alt, you can see there's a wooden trunk out here. Just got a hammer in it. Nothing special. You can walk out here in the water a little ways, but there's nothing out here. All right, now we're going to make our way over here. And like I said, we're probably a little under-leveled for this encounter. But hopefully we'll be okay. But then again, maybe we won't be okay. We'll see how it goes. Alright, we're going to put everybody in hiding, and we're going to split the group here. Oh, great. Didn't even have a chance to get ready for this. And we rolled horribly on initiative. This is not going well. We might end up party wiping here. Because all the ancient mud Mephits are spawning additional Mephits. So we might end up having a party wipe here. So our main problems are the Woads, but the ancient mud Mephits are certainly no slouches. Yeah, exactly. Good luck now. This is going to be a major problem for us here. So let's see what we can do as far as, so this Woad is facing away from us. Let's see if we can get a Starian up here, maybe. Let's see if we can do that by getting a cunning action dash with him. And see how far we can get him down here. I don't know if that's far enough or not. Nope, it's not going to be. This detection cone is going to be overlapping me, I can guarantee it. But I'm going to try and hide anyway.
On the hunt.
Okay, so it looks like I am okay with this. So now my sneak attack ranged should work here on either one of these. So they've all had their go. This ancient mud Mephit is all the way back there, and I don't have a line of sight on it. So we need to start working these two mud Mephits here. And we're going to take out the back one. The front one's a little bit closer to everybody, so we're going to take out the back one here. Well, try and take out the back one here. Okay. So, as you take out the ancient mud Mephit that spawned the others, then the young mud Mephits that they spawned go away. Okay? So, that's something important to remember, is taking out the correct ones will remove them. Now, when they disappear, they go off in a blast of force damage, and that will kill other Mephits around them. Okay, so it's like a chain effect as far as the damage goes. But we are just getting ourselves back to where we would have started if this encounter would have gone a little differently. So for now, I can reapply Hunter's Mark here. but I do not have an action available to me. So there's nothing, yeah, I don't have an action that's available to me because of how that combat started. So Lae'zel is here. Now Lae'zel, I'm going to move up as far as we can get her with her regular movement. And then I'm going to use a bonus action to jump her out here. And execute just a regular melee attack. Oh, great. That's exactly what I didn't need. Exactly what I didn't need. Okay. So this ancient is going to raise more Mephits, I guarantee it. Yep. And now the Woads are going to start dashing towards me. Okay, so for Will, we're going to... Oh boy, we have to take out this Mephit, though. So if you look at the Wood Woads and examine them, you can see that they are vulnerable to fire damage. So fire damage against them is doubled. They are resistant to bludgeoning and piercing attacks. So any of that damage is going to be halved as soon as you do it. They also have regeneration. As long as you're going to see that there are twisting vines on the ground over here. They can also spawn twisting vines underneath them. When they get close to you, they will spawn a patch of twisting vines and try and entangle you so that you can't move away. If they start their turn on twisting vines, they're going to regenerate 10 hit points. That's what that regeneration means. However, if they took fire damage on the turn right before theirs, then they are not going to regenerate. So that's where Will is going to be important here, in that when we cause damage to the Wood Woads, we need to make sure that that damage is not regenerated. If it is, this fight can get seriously out of hand, and it can get out of hand very, very quickly. So what I'm going to do here is try and take out this Mephit here first, and I'm going to try and do that with Eldritch Blast and then with an attack from Astarion, because I do not want to use his spell slots at this point for that. I want to keep Scorching Ray on hand so that we can use that to inflict fire damage on the two Wood Woads and keep them from regenerating. Okay? So he's got 2 spell slots available to him, and we want to make sure that we maximize his usage of those spell slots. So I could, with Will, cast Hex on the Wood Woad, and just like Hunter's Mark, if I stay concentrating on it, it would be continuous damage. However, if I do, it's going to use up a spell slot, and I would prefer to use those 2 spell slots for Scorching Ray to keep the 2 Wood Woads from regenerating. So that's my plan here. We'll see how well it works. Okay, so Astarion here, I need 1 point of damage here on my Hunter's Mark Quarry. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now I'm going to use one of my bonus actions to dash. Okay, and we have a young Mud Mephit over here. And I think I'm going to try and do this and just remove him from the field I'm going to take some damage when I do this, but I think it's worth it. So I'm going to try and make an offhand melee attack and see if I can get lucky with the damage roll. Okay, so I didn't. He's still there, but we'll see how that goes. Then the ancient mud Mephit here is probably going to try and raise another young Mephit over here. We'll just kind of see how it goes. Okay, so I got a good couple of crits with my opportunity attack. And they just absolutely love going after Will here. So I do not have a whole lot of choice. One thing I do want to look at here, the wisdom stat's 13. Okay. So we're going to keep that in mind. There's not a whole lot of choice here. I'm going to take some damage when I do this. Yeah, I'm just going to end up taking damage here when I do this, but I don't have a choice. Okay, so I did take some force damage. Like I say, that was expected that was going to happen. Okay, so now the Woads are going to start making their way in. I'm trying to take out the Mephits here, especially the two ancient mud Mephits, while the Woads are still at distance. Still going to take them a bit to reach me because of the difficult terrain here. And then when I get to that point, then I'm going to start with bardic inspirations and stuff like that to start buffing Lae'zel. But for now, let's go to Lae'zel.
I am death.
And here's this ancient mud Mephit has already used its turn. This one is not, but I'm not going to be able to see it. Yeah. Now I can if I move all the way down there, because I would like to get rid of this Mephit before it gets another chance to attack. I have a 65% chance of doing that.
You bow or you break.
Okay, good. So now Astarion is free to move. And Lae'zel is free to move as well. And I've got just this one ancient mud Mephit here, and I should be able to work on them with Astarion before they get the next turn. So that worked out, and now Will is available, and I want to start getting Will moved out of here. This stupid muddy condition is going to go for one more turn, so there's not a whole lot I can do here. But I want to get him out of this area and start moving him up here. Okay, and again, I'm not going to use a spell slot for now.
This is worth the cost.
So with my movement, I can now move out of here as well, and want to get them not back here in this area where their movement is impeded.
Swift and lethal.
Okay, so the Woads are going to make their way in, dashing, but again, they're on difficult terrain. So they're not able to move as far. And now I have Astarion, and again, I'm going to get Astarion prepped, because Astarion also has a Firebolt cantrip, which if I get a good hit roll, that can cause fire damage possibly as well. So I have ways to inflict fire damage. I also have, I believe, sorry, looking through my potions, it doesn't look like I do have any Alchemist Fire. Oh, I do. There's an Alchemist Fire here, which again, I can throw at them to cause fire damage. So I have some options here, but I certainly need to get rid of this Mephit here. So I'm going to move my way back here out of difficult terrain. Actually, I might as well dash first. This is not difficult terrain up here. Yeah, I want to stay out of the difficult terrain. So now here, if I do a ranged attack, it's an 80% chance to hit. I might as well try and maximize that. And doing a sneak attack to give me advantage. I do not want that Mephit being around anymore. So, now Astarian's turn is done. And I'm going to start doing the same thing with the rest of my characters, moving them back out of the way so that we are no longer in difficult terrain. That difficult terrain, if you look at it, you can see that I'm in difficult terrain, deep water up there, and it's going to be keeping my movement down. And I want to have as much freedom of movement as I can with my characters as I go through this. So I think what I'm going to do is wait for them to get one more turn closer to me.
These boots have seen everything.
So that they're right next to Lae'zel here. I'm going to use a combat inspiration on Lae'zel. Get her ready for this fight. And then I can start looking at my other spells that I have, because I'm going to want to try and give them disadvantage. So, Vicious Mockery. They have a high defense. Vicious Mockery is a wisdom save, and they have a +1 to wisdom. They do have a high defense, but causing them to have a disadvantage on their attack roll against Lae'zel is going to help keep her in the fight longer.
Thou art saucy as gruel.
Okay. So now that has Vicious Mockery for the next turn, so that Woodwood's going to come up and try and attack Lae'zel. I definitely want Lae'zel to have her sword equipped here, and I'm going to let that Woad come to me. I am not going to move out there and attack it. And I'm just looking for where my movement works. Okay, so here it's about 6 meters away. It's in difficult terrain all the way through up to here. So I'm going to move kind of back to here a little bit. And just do a regular ranged attack. See, a 40% defense. So, needed a 16 to hit. I rolled a 15. I could use my Valiant attack, but I'm not going to waste it on a ranged attack. So I'm going to miss. And I'm going to end her turn. Will's turn, or my turn's also ended. And so, now we get to Will. And again, with Will, I want to do the same thing. I want to start moving him out of this area and getting him away from the movement hampered areas. And again, he has Vicious Mockery as a cantrip, so I can use that to give them disadvantage on their attack rolls as well. So something that if I can use it to cause that damage, I will. But since he's out here, if I'm within range, I'm not. But I've already got Vicious Mockery here, so now I'm just going to try and use my Eldritch Blast and knock it backward. And that's great, because now it has farther to go through the difficult terrain here. Okay. And now with Astarian, I can try and get him. Let's see if he's within range first. He's not. He's outside normal range. Let's see if I can get him a little bit closer. So we'll dash. I prefer for him not to be in there, but now he's here. So now I'm going to hide.
Just like old times.
Okay, I'm just outside the detection cone. I thought it was actually a lot farther outside of it than that. And now I can sneak attack ranged. And you see, now I have an 80% chance to hit. Okay, and now I can move him back a little bit because the Woads are going to keep moving this way. So I want to move him back a little ways and get him where he might be able to go into hiding and stay outside of their detection cones.
Sometimes the only way out is through.
So for my Bard, again, at this point, I can keep inflicting Vicious Mockery if I would like. I have some spells to use here, so I think I can reapply Hunter's Mark, but that's not going to help me hit them. And there's only a 50% chance to hit. Got some spells I can start using. And I can give myself advantage, possibly, with Fairy Fire. So I think this is a good way to go. And I'm actually going to upcast this. Okay, so I got Fairy Fire on one of them. The other one's saved. That lost my Hunter's Mark, but I don't really care. It's more about other people being able to damage them than me. So now if I go to Lae'zel and she does just a standard ranged attack, see, she's got a 64% chance to hit because we now have advantage on this attack. So I don't want to use... Well, actually, I can use a menacing attack here. Ranged, it's 3 to 17. I'd prefer to use it when I'm up close and personal, though, with my melee. So I'm not going to use my superiority die. So I'm just going to continue using regular ranged attacks. See if I can't get rid of this one. So, oh, I can get extra damage out of this, but again, not going to. Okay, so I got 4 piercing damage out of that, and then her turn is going to be done.
Nothing will stand in my way.
For my turn, again, I've got bonus actions left, and there's nothing else I really need to concentrate on. I'm going to save my healing spell for now. So I'm just going to move her back a little bit. Get her kind of back out of the way even more. And then I'm going to try and do the same thing again with his Eldritch Blast. And now you see I've got a 75% chance to hit. And as long as I can keep that up and I can keep moving them back with Repelling Blast, then this should be fairly easy. So now I'm going to move him again. Get him back out of the way. And let the Woads go. Okay, so this Woad is actually moving back. It looks like to try and go regenerate. So I want to try and prevent that from happening. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to or not. Let's dash with Astarion. Get him around the twisting vines. And see how far that is. So I'm just outside the range. Let's see if I can get him. Okay, so here I'm good. Let's see if I can move him a little. Well, let's see if he can hide now.
Let's find some prey.
He was not able to hide, but I still have advantage on this attack. So, do I have action on Firebolt? Or I do have advantage on Firebolt. So let's try and do that. And I missed an 84% or whatever that was. Great. Love every minute of it.
Nothing important is ever easy.
Okay, so for me here, we still do not have any debuffs cast on this Wood Woad. So let's try Vicious Mockery as a start. And it's saved. So that's not great. So we're going to move up here now with Lae'zel. And we're going to go straight in here.
No time to waste.
And I'm going to get Will and see if we can cast... Actually, let's just try and get an attack off. We'll try and get off a menacing attack. This is only going to be a 40% chance to hit. But let's try it anyway. Okay, I needed an 18 to hit. I rolled a 14. If I add in Valiant Attack, it's going to add 1d6, so I'd have about a... I need 6, or I need 4 out of 6, so I'd have only a 33% chance for this to hit. But that's better than nothing. And I missed. I must have just barely missed. I rolled a 17. Yep. So I just barely missed. So what I can do while I'm here is use my bonus action and try and pommel strike and daze, and missed again. So now I'll get Will and... Where is he with his Scorching Ray? That target's too far. But I can move him quite a ways up here.
2 steps at a time.
So let's make sure this Wood dies. So each one of these on the Scorching Ray does 2d6 of damage. So it's 2 to 12. This needs 8, so I'm going to overkill this. I'm going to put 2 on him just to make sure that it dies. And the third one I'll put here. Okay. And you see what I meant by the regeneration broken. It's not standing on twisting vines anyway, but that broke its regeneration for this turn. So you see it says regeneration broken for 1 turn at the top. So that's going to, with any movement, I can just kind of move him back a little bit and end his turn. And Lae'zel's done. So the Wood's going to get a chance to attack. Entangled Will, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to dash with the Starian and kind of shepherd his movement a little bit through areas that I know are not going to impede my movement that much. And the Woad is facing this way, so I should be able to hide here. But I'm going to wait to do that sneak attack because I do have advantage and it's a 70% chance to hit. But I'm going to wait. And see if I can get any other debuffs here. So let's try my cantrip here first. Saved again. Getting fairly lucky with his saves. Yeah, because I've got he rolled an 18. I was going to say, I know he's got to be getting somewhat lucky with these saves. So I'll just do... Yeah, that's going to end her turn for now. I'm going to skip to Lae'zel and see if Lae'zel can manage to get a hit here. And she did. Oh, wow. Okay. 40% chance, and she got a big, big hit there. So I rolled max damage on the fire damage. And yeah, rolled a 6 on the damage roll. So yeah, got the reroll. That's why. So yeah, did really, really well with that. So that worked out really good. So it turns out, yes, like you said, except that having repelling blast, especially in this encounter where they have difficult terrain and can't move towards me very fast, certainly made this a lot easier than other playthroughs that you might run into. So, Eldritch Blast, again, if it's got to be a roll, it's a 2-hit roll. So, you've got to make that 2-hit. But if you do hit with it and the repel works, then yeah, it's going to be pretty good, it looks like. So, the mud Mephits do drop an alchemical ingredient. So, we can pick these up as well.
Must be on my way.
There are some vases we can search in here.
Open up.
And this mud Mephit here. We can search the Wood, and this is the one that has the Wood shield on it. We're going to send this to Lae'zel for now. The rest of the stuff we can pick up. They also drop wood bark, which is another alchemical ingredient. And now we can group everybody up and bring everybody back together. And he stepped into the vines. Great. Thank you, Astarian. Appreciate it. So, some more wood bark and another twisted branch. Now here we have some vases we can search. And there's a wooden chest that has the sparkle hands in it. And don't worry, I've told you multiple times that we're going to go through all these items we picked up. We certainly are. Just might as well do them all at once, rather than just a couple at a time here and there. So we're going to break our group. We're going to have Will cast Guidance on my Bard here. And there again, not using F1 again. We're going to walk up in here.
Must be the tree from the note to Kagha.
And there's a wood crevice.
What's that cleft there?
And we can search it. And of course, okay, and we get a letter to Kagha. We read it. You can see that Archdruid Alis, who is a shadow druid, is working with someone named Oladan, and to get Kagha to basically take over the Emerald Grove. And once that's done and they do the Rite of Thorns, then they are going to, the Shadow Druids are going to take over the Emerald Grove and turn it into a Shadow Druid enclave, with Kagha as the first Druid. So now we have the evidence here for Kagha for that quest. And now that we have it, we are going to finish walking around out here a little bit once it lets me. And we're going to make our way back to... Actually, let's search this mud Mephit here. And pick those up. We'll continue walking around out here real quick and just doing a quick search. But we are not going to continue on from this place and extend ourselves through the wetlands here. We're going to go back to the Druid Enclave and complete that quest one way or another. Okay, so we have a wooden trunk out here on the island. And nothing else. So we can head back. Now what it was previously was you would sneak all of your characters by the Mephits, because the Mephits didn't patrol, really. And you would get them up here onto the high ground. And that way you had the high ground to hit bonuses against them. But the Woodwoads, there's very little difficult terrain down here. This patch of mud is the only difficult terrain they have, so they can advance on you really quickly. The better one now is to get one or two of your characters back here to be able to deal with the ancient Mephits. And bring everybody else down here so you can get ranged attacks on the Woodwoads as they try and approach you through the difficult terrain. So that's kind of the more full version of the game way of approaching this. Because the Woodwoads have more hit points than they did in early access. So they're a little bit more difficult to kill than they were previously. We're just moving our way around here, looking around, searching a couple of vases. Nothing much, and we can make our way back down here. Okay, there's nothing out here on the end of this. You can Misty Step across this, though, if you do have that spell and want to do it. But for us, we are now going to make our way back to the Emerald Grove. Before we go in there, we're going to go through our inventories for a couple of reasons. One, we're going to make sure of everything that we have listed as a ware that we want to sell. So that we can easily just sell all of these items once we get there. And it looks like everything down through here should be aware. The incense is aware, the bow, then everything here through that. The scroll of sleep we're going to send to Will. Do I need more thieves' tools or not? Does Astarion need them? He needs one more thieves' tool. I normally try and keep 5 thieves' tools on Astarion. And 2 disarm kits. And that's it. The rest of it is just needless carry weight. So we will also move these. Astarion also have some wares, so the pouch doesn't have anything in it. So all of that is wares. And then from here, the grease bottle I'm going to keep. The muddy note we can read. This is what we found on the teddy bear. And then all the way down through this. And the mud Mephit wing we can put in our alchemy pouch. That's something you'll notice that if you right click and transfer an alchemy item to another character, it does not automatically go into their pouch. It only goes in there if they pick it up. This pitcher of beer can go to my camp. I don't know why it's still there. This agate is aware, and we can read these 3 letters that we picked up. These are the mail letters that we picked up off of Gormick when we recruited Scratch. So these are the mail. I'm very anxious, and please don't spoil it for me. If you know, I'm really anxious to see if these people, like Postmaster General Donzo, if we can find him in Baldur's Gate and report to him that Gomwick is now deceased, and maybe we can deliver these letters, you know, or something like that. I'm really anxious to see how that might play out. So now that we've got our wares pretty much taken care of, I think we read this. Yeah, that was the... So we can mark that as wares. And that's good. So let's start looking at the items that we picked up. So first appears the Oak Father's Embrace. So this is a piece of medium armor that if undead creatures hit you, the undead creatures will receive 1d6 radiant damage in return. However, if you get hit by an animal, that animal is going to deal an additional 1d6 radiant damage to you. So, can be situational, however, not something that I am going to be utilizing on this playthrough, especially with a 13 armor class. So, I'm actually going to mark that as a wear that I'm going to sell, because I'm definitely not going to use it. The Moondrop Pendant, when the wearer has 50% hit points or less, they do not provoke opportunity attacks. This can be very, very useful. If you get hurt and you want to move out of the area that you're in, then if you're less than 50% of your hit points, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from those people, those enemies that are around you. So it can be very good for a bunch of people that might take damage. So for now, I'm going to swap this out so that I'm wearing the Moondrop Pendant, but that is going to be, eventually end up being swapped out as I need to use the Amulet of Sylvanas to cast Lesser Restoration. But for me, it's just a benefit right now. These two can both go to Astarion. He's going to be using his ranged attacks much more than I am. Then we picked up the Fleet Fingers. So once per turn, after the wearer dashes or takes a similar action, they can jump without using a bonus action. Now, this can be very, very useful. Astarion dashes all of the time, so he doesn't necessarily need to jump all of the time, but it can situationally be very useful for him. So I might as well just give him that bonus right now. There's no reason not to. That will become more situationally aware to somebody else once we go further on through this. Then you have the Sparkle Hands. These are very interesting in that on a hit with an unarmed attack, you will gain 2 lightning charges. So for monks who specialize in those, this is a great starter item to be able to get you lightning charges. However, it also has another effect that whenever you have lightning charges, attacks against metal constructs and anybody who's wearing metal armor are going to gain advantage. Now, that can be very, very useful because a lot of NPCs that you're going to find are going to be wearing metal armor, and we also have several very popular constructs or metal robots in this game, especially in the city, but also in the Arcane Tower. So if you have a way to get lightning charges, then this would give you advantage on all of your attacks against those type of creatures. Now, right now, I don't have a way to get lightning charges on my characters, but for now, there's no reason not to put them on Lae'zel, just as storage at the very least. Okay. So I think that was it that we had picked up, right? I think so. I'm going to move the Watcher's Guide over here, and Spell Thief is still there. Yes, I think that was all we picked up. Okay. So now I'm going to make my way in to the Grove, and I am going to take a short rest.
The pride of the gate.
Will's missing one of his spell slots. When you take a short rest, warlocks get their spells back on short rest, not just long rest. So remember, my bard also has the Song of Rest as an action. So I have 2 short rests here and a 3rd short rest here. So that's 6 spells that Will can cast without having to take a long rest. That's why bards synergize really well with warlocks. And how well they synergize with Hexblade paladins as well, which you will start to see in the paladin playthrough as well. So now, when you go for trading, again, you will want to institute the trade with your highest charisma character. So, looking at the character sheets, it doesn't matter whether it's Dravalin or whether it's Will, we both have 17. But your prices are going to be set based upon which character instituted the trade. So always pick your highest charisma character and go into trading with them. Once you're into trading, then the prices are fixed.
Need anything else? Of course. But please, remember, you're not the only one in need.
Okay. So, Aaron, very happy with us. So we can go to the trade screen, and all of these things that are marked as wares, we can just sell wares. Okay, he doesn't have enough gold to complete all of it, so unfortunately now we have to kind of piecemeal some of this, so we're going to focus on the heavy carry weight items first. Right? So we're going to get rid of all of these weapons. He's down to 390. We can also see what else we have. The Ring of Flinging is not that expensive. It's 52. We do have ring armor +1. Nothing else really spectacular here. So nothing else is going to be more of a benefit toward us, but we can pick up the Ring of Flinging here, I guess, and give that to Lae'zel. She's not wearing any rings right now, and if she throws anything at somebody, that would give her a little bit more, and that would give him some more gold. See if we can sell our wares now. Still insufficient gold, so... Oh, it's because we have a bunch of bloodstones and agates and stuff like that to sell. So let's keep going through some of these other high carry weight items. I think Astarion has some. Yes, he does. Okay, so next is going to be things like our books. Now we can start getting rid of all the miscellaneous dregs that we have in here, so to speak. I'm going to keep the water. I'm actually going to remove that from wares when I get done. Okay, so now we'll just be a little more selective. Get rid of some of the more carry weight items that he has left up to his limit. And that should be it. Still have the Oakfather's Embrace that we're going to sell. We can go down to Damon and check his out. Check his inventory out. And then we're going to head down inside the Emerald Grove itself. Unless that's a good question, Joshua. Unless I feel that there might be some future need for the letters or the notes, I sell them off. Those 3 that I have in my inventory, I moved to my camp so I wouldn't even be tempted or have the ability to sell them. But yeah, all the other letters, once I read them, if I don't think that there's some other application in the game for them later on, then I will get rid of them. I won't keep them. I know some people just throw all of those things into their camp chest just in case. I'm just not that big a pack rat. I am a pack rat, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not that big of a pack rat when it comes down to it. So I end up selling them. So, but it is always up to your choice, and it's very easy to keep them all since we have unlimited storage in our camp chests. So, and here I'm just cleaning up my inventory a little bit. This is one thing that I really... Actually, there might be another way, a better way to do this. I'll explore that later, because I think I don't like having my inventory scroll down with items way down at the bottom. I think there's a better way to do it than what I just did. But I'll explore that later off stream and see. Okay, so things are pretty well cleaned up, I think. Yes. You can, yeah, you can auto sort. The auto sort is stupid, though. it doesn't do what I want it to do based upon the options that are available to you. So if you're looking at your inventory and you auto sort it, trust me, when what I like to see is my healing potions first, then these, then my revivify scrolls, and then things that I like, my potions or other healing scrolls or healing potions that I'm going to use. I like to see those up front. All the other stuff I tend to put down more toward the back. It does not want to sort it that way. It just doesn't want to do the sorting in the manner in which I like doing it. So, like I say, trust me, if you want to do it, feel free. It just doesn't do what I want it to do, and it causes me more of a, don't click on that, it causes me more of a headache than a cure for me.
Close.
But feel free, it is that, I mean, that's a good comment, Joshua, that you can, or that Lord Henry, that you can do it. So now I'm gonna go back to trade, sell the rest of my wares here, and look and see what he has available. He's got a great sword +1. The rest of it, not really anything that I want here. I could get Will the padded armor +1 and up his armor class by 1. That's true. I'd love to be able to lock items in my inventory so that they don't move. That would solve that situation fairly easily. So I can buy the heavy cross. Oh, I thought I saw a heavy crossbow. Oh yeah, that is the heavy crossbow. I can buy the heavy crossbow for Lae'zel. That's going to give her the heaviest ranged damage at this section of early access. So I've got a light crossbow +1 here. Historian has one hand crossbow. I'm hoping to find another one. And then I have the hunting shortbow with Hunter's Mark on it. I guess I can buy Will the padded armor, or the padded armor +1. It's not horribly expensive. Oh, it's got 1980s big shoulder pads on his stuff now. It's awesome. And yeah, the rest of it, nothing that we're interested in. The safeguard shield is nice. It's still +2. The difference is that the Woad shield has the ensnaring strike ability on it. So all around you, you summon a set of, twisting vines basically that will try and ensnare your target so it doesn't move. So that can be very useful, especially if you're one-handing something and you get hurt, then you're not going to take damage from opportunity attacks and then being able to hold the enemy in place while you escape. So it can be very, very useful. But yeah, nothing else I think I want here. And we're all cleaned out. So now I'm going to leave and I'm going to head down into the Emerald Grove itself. And we're going to go confront Kagha. Here. So now we're going to confront her. The Embrace Your Potential quest popped up when we found the parasite from the Dying True Soul. Save Marina popped up when we talked to Auntie Ethel and the brothers. And this advanced when we talked to the cultist who were talking about the Absolute. So nothing really special, but we're going to go now down here and try and confront Kagha in a good way. And we'll see if it works. I don't know if I've completed this quest yet. Okay, so I have not talked to Arabella's parents yet.
I have something to ask.
You ever scare me like that again, and I'll
feed you to a gnoll.
Mom, I'm fine. Stop it.
Our little Hellion told us what happened. Thank you. Don't know what we'd do without her. Likewise. Arabella?
Thank you for helping me.
Okay, so you get an inspiration
I was fine.
for helping her, and you get Chimera's locket.
Isn't that how Mom usually is?
Quiet, you.
Chimera's locket allows you to cast the Dancing Lights spell as a cantrip. So anybody can cast it. Dancing Lights allows you to illuminate a 9-meter radius for 10 turns in an 18-meter casting radius around you. It does not move once you cast it. That's the difference between it and light. But this will allow you to illuminate areas, and that is
Sharp as ever.
a good thing for Will to have, so that he can possibly light up dark areas, and in preparation for Lae'zel moving in to attack, because Lae'zel cannot see in the dark. She does not have dark vision, so if she's in the dark and trying to attack, she's going to have disadvantage. So you can use that cantrip to light up those areas so that she can get in there and make a full attack roll attack. So one other thing I wanted to check in here. Yeah, that completed save Arabella. Okay, so I do need to talk to... I do need to finish up Mole's quest as well, and we'll do that. Yeah, we might have enough time. So we're going to head in here. Hey, congrats, Matt. I'm glad. It is, it's a long road. There's a lot of content there. So, but congratulations. So again, we're going to do a quick save just in case anything breaks while we do this. And we're going to head down here. And I'm going to toggle the group here. Kind of keep Will close.
Looking ahead.
And go in here and talk to Kagha.
Why are you here? I sent you to Zevlor.
What?
That damn nose of yours has gone poking in our business.
Mistress Ollerton, I can explain.
Shh. No need. It couldn't be helped.
Kagha, what is the meaning of this?
You think yourself quite the spy, don't you? Go on, tell him.
A shadow druid? Kagha, have you lost your mind?
You and Elsin welcome untouchables to your midst. You defile the grove for the sake of harmony.
Ollerton speaks truth. Who among you disagrees? Who would see this grove in ruin?
The choice is made. Kagha, burn the tainted away. Start with the snitch.
As you say, Ollerton.
Okay, so now you have an option here. With Persuasion or with Detect Thoughts can help open up the option, but with my Persuasion being as high as it is, I'm going to try and persuade Kagha here to not go through with this. I can add in a bonus of guidance. So I've got 8 to 11 with a 15 DC here. And remember, I did get a couple of inspirations back, so I have some additional rolls if I fail it.
No! You don't know what you say! In shadow, we are purified!
Kagha's voice breaks and her lips tremble. She heard reason in your words.
Okay, so now I have another check here to do, and again, the persuasion check is the best way for me to go. This is a much lower DC because I passed the insight check, and I realized that she is having second thoughts. Alright, so now with an 8 to 11, the only way I can fail this is with a natural 1.
When the darkest hour fell, it was us that brought light. Sylvanas demands we illuminate shadow, not hide within it. How was I so blind?
Careful, Kagha. The shadows don't forgive.
I belong to the shadows no longer. You've no power over me.
You would question my power. Mother Earth, hear me. Grant me your wrath.
Okay, so now you roll initiative, and things are substantially easier now than if you didn't convince Kagha. If you didn't convince Kagha, then Kagha would be against you, and there would be 2 more of her allies who would also be against you, in addition to the 3 Shadow Druids. So things would get, let's just say, a lot more involved if you didn't convince Kagha. So we're going to go ahead and dash, and we're going to move Astarion back, not getting close. We're going to move Astarion around so he does not provoke an attack of opportunity here. And I can get around behind everybody. So now I'm going to make sure there's nobody behind me. There's not. The detection cone should be okay, so I'm going to go into hiding. Just barely made it out. And now I should have a sneak attack ranged. So Oladan is going first, and then Pinta. So I want to focus on Oladan if I can. Okay. So did get some good damage there, and now Kagha's going to get a turn. Not too worried about ensnaring strike. Attacks of opportunity when Pinta tried to move away. She wild-shaped into a wolf, and now it's my turn. Now if I try and move away, you see I'm going to get an attack of opportunity, and that's always going to happen to whichever character you put in here. They're always going to be stuck right in the middle of it. So I don't think the wolf maybe it does still have its reaction. I don't see it on the ground, but I think it probably does. Yeah, I'm within melee range of it, so it probably does. So I think I'm just going to stand in here and try and cast Vicious Mockery on Ren. Okay, so he has now disadvantage on his next attack roll. So hopefully that will keep me safe. And I'm going to cast give combat inspiration to Lae'zel and end my turn. Okay, so when he wild-shaped, Vicious Mockery disappeared. So, didn't think that was going to happen. So now I'm going to move in with Lae'zel and try and knock Ren out of his wild shape. So let's just get in there. 75% chance to hit. Okay, so that knocked him completely out of his wild shape, which is what we wanted. So now I'm going to action surge. And I'm going to do another menacing attack and see if we can remove Ren from the board here. Perfect. Okay, so I can still move in here. I still have a lot of movement left. Do I have enough to get in range here? I do. Okay. So we will let all the attacks go against Lae'zel, and I'll be ready for that attack next round. So now Wrath is going to move up, and he should go after the wolf. Right, missed. Loic is going to move up. Won't be able to do anything this turn, though. So now Will. So I could Eldritch Blast, and that would probably knock Uladin off the cliff, but I want to be able to loot her afterwards, so I'm going to save this for Pinta here. Try and knock her out of wolf shape. Okay, it also knocked her back, which is good. And now I can spend one of my spell slots. I should have done this previously before. Yeah, I'm not going to do it while he's wild-shaped. I'll just end my turn. I'll put Hex on him next turn. So here, based upon the detection cones, I think I'm all right to go into hiding here.
Now they see me.
Okay, I wasn't, but I was able to hide successfully. So my advantage and disadvantage offset here. They do not offset against Pinta, so I'll go ahead and take the strike here. Okay. Now Ensnared has disappeared since she was the one that cast it. I don't think I need to move up and do anything else. So I think I'll just wait. Okay. So now with myself, there's nothing special I need to do here. This fight's going to be over fairly quickly. Let's actually get in with Lae'zel first. Actually, let's not.
Well, so much
Let's see if I can get rid of this additional 4 hit points here. It's only a 16% chance to hit. Guess I got 65. Hopefully I can get rid of those last 4 points. Good. Now Lae'zel can move in and try and end the fight here. Okay, so she needs a 13 to hit. I rolled a 9. So I'm going to add in the Valiant Attack. Again, I need a 4 out of 6, so only a 33% chance to hit. So let's do a Pommel Strike here. I love the fact that I rolled so low. That was awesome. What did I roll again? A 4? Jeez.
That comes easy these days.
So nothing else I want to do here. Bold Person. Nice. I love it. So now whatever attack we do has advantage, and it's a guaranteed crit. So there's no way Pinta's going to survive this. Okay, now everybody heals themselves back up. I will as well.
Let's go hurt someone.
And I can do some searching. No, I can't. They're marked as steel for some reason, so let's Toggle hiding. We'll toggle the group and we'll take Astarion over here.
I will accept it in full.
Battle has taken its toll. I should rest.
Go into turn-based mode. Have him search Oladan. Take everything. And we will just exit turn-based mode and go right back into it. Okay, we'll move Astarion out of here. Alright. That's it. We can group everybody back up. And get everybody out of hiding. I love the fact that some succeed and some don't. Okay. So now we can talk to Wrath.
You have saved Kagha from herself. I cannot thank you enough.
And you're correct, Exip. That works. You will quickly see how buggy that is too. So, but you are correct. If you hold left shift, you can see the cones. In combat, however, half the time they don't even register. If you are not in hiding and you try and look at them. The rendering of those detection cones is really, really bad. So let's talk to Silver.
For discussion.
Leave. You are not wanted here.
I see it on your face.
And we can talk to Kagha.
And I don't blame you. Wrath thought me a danger. Seems I've proven him right. I endangered a child. I betrayed the Sekul's trust. We will stop the right and I will stand trial. My fate lies with Sylvanas. May he have mercy. We will grant them safe harbor until they depart. Meanwhile, help us contend with the goblins. Perhaps we can dissuade them from attacking. It began with a letter. There was no messenger, it simply appeared. Oladan came soon after. An army was coming, she said. Goblins, drow, and more still. Legions upon legions. The Druids of Cloakwood knew the dangers this would bring. They ordained that all circles cast the right to shelter from the storm. Oladan taught me to harness the Tree Father's power to wall us in. In return, well, you know the rest. I would turn the grove over to them. I won't forget the wounds I've inflicted. I pray Halsin returns to heal them in full.
Okay, so that finished off the confrontation with Kagha in the best way possible. So now it says we should report our successes to Zevlor. So that is what we are going to go do.
Mind my step.
When did this start?
The first letter from...
Not now, Tusk.
And you can see now things are much different. Out here, the ritual has stopped. You can talk to the other druids that were doing the ritual.
To think we almost finished the ritual. I felt honored when I was chosen to participate. Now I feel guilty I didn't object.
But there's just single lines of dialogue like that for all of them. We also get some tieflings who are now journeying down into this area that they've never been allowed before.
Looks like the druids have eased off some. Small mercies.
Okay, so same type of things. So the druids have now opened up the Emerald Grove a little bit. You can have more conversations. For instance, down here with existing characters that were there, there's nothing new that you're going to learn, though. So we're going to make our way back in here. We're going to talk to Donnie here. Okay, did we go in here previously? Chat, did we go in here last episode and talk to Mole? Doesn't look like we did, but the hatch is open. Well, we'll go... doesn't look like we did. The mini-map's not been opened up. So we'll go down in here real quick. So first is jumping across this to this wicker chest.
Like its will be done.
So with Lae'zel, who has our highest strength, there is like one little tiny section where she can make it over here. And you just kind of have to keep moving your mouse around until you find it. I'd prefer not to have to use... There it was. You just saw it. There it was again. Okay, there you go. Okay. With her strength is the only one that can make it over there unless you have a Misty Step or a potion of Hill Giant Strength. Okay, she can pick up a Fire Amber, which again is an alchemy ingredient. She cannot see in the dark over here, but that's all there is. And now moving her back is just as difficult. There's one little spot where she can make the jump.
Never a dull moment.
So if you have a Misty Step spell, it's much easier to do it, but if you don't, you can still make it with Lae'zel or anybody who has a 17 strength. Yeah, CK, it does. You just have to find that one spot, because sometimes it's only one pixel worth, and you just have to find it. So I haven't been able to find anything out here or any use for what's out here, but if somebody does, feel free to let me know. And then we have this upper area up here. Okay, so there's a hole here which takes you back up to the top, which is where the spot that Donnie originally snuck in through.
Sorry about the nest. You guys find anything good today?
No.
Ian, you're going down the road. You'll be anxious to see where I end up going with my paladin. Like I say, I'm trying so hard not to have spoilers here.
Hello again.
From my other playthrough.
Mole's in charge here, not me.
Okay, so all these chests and everything down here are marked as steel, but there are a few things,
Better not be cursed.
like these books that you can read and that you can take. Oh, that's marked it as steel now, even though it's got a white border around it. So I guess be careful when you're down in here. Don't want to get caught stealing.
You don't look so tough. Mole fought off a hobgoblin all by herself.
Yeah, I know, Pete. I've carried that fishing rod around for my personal playthrough for hours now. Just in case. So again, another book here. Still, it's white but marked as steel.
You're blocking my light.
remember you. You're the one who helped me get away. You want something? Were you just here to stare at my forehead? Look, if I had it, would I tell you? This entire conversation is a waste of our time, don't you think? Now find yourself a maze and get lost. I'm busy.
Okay, Mole's over here. We're going to talk to Murkon first, since we did rescue him.
You came! I have... Here! Mole said I should thank you properly for the harpies, so I wrote you a story. It's about you. I hope you like it.
Alright, so now I can make my way back down here. Again, these chests are all marked as steel. Nothing that, again, I found in these areas, but I haven't tried to put on Featherfall and jump into this into this hole or anything like that to see if it does actually go somewhere. So let's find Maul here.
We're going to own that town.
There.
Well, look who's come to visit. My kids say you've been busy since you got here. I heard you helped Melly with that locket. I owe you for that. Murkon says you got him out of a tight spot with some harpies. Gotta say, I'm impressed. You saved Arabella from the Druids. Don't know what those bastards would have done. And thanks for going easy on Sylphie. Not many marks would have done the same.
So all 4 of those lines are because of the help we gave the Tiefling children at various parts throughout the Grove walkthrough. If you don't help them, or if Murkon dies, or you don't ever do the interaction with Sylphie, or anything like that, then none of those will happen, and these dialogue options get different, and her attitude towards you is much
Saving up
different.
for a better hideout when we get to Baldur's Gate. Why? You planning on telling me stealing is wrong? Won't turn down free money. I've got operating costs you wouldn't believe. Come see me in the city sometime, huh? I'll repay this and then some. See you around, maybe.
So, no spoilers in the chat. But I'm really anxious to see if we meet up with Mole again in the city and how that interaction works.
Back.
Okay, so just looking at what Mole has, an elixir of fire resistance is nice. Scroll of dark vision, the rest of it's fairly straightforward. So just looking to see if there's anything else I want to sell. There are some things that I have here, so... just some things I don't need. Oh, and I think... no. Oh, that went to barter. That's easy enough to do. So here, do I have backpacks that are still in my inventory? No, it doesn't look like it. So looks like we've cleared everything else out. And like I say, not really a whole lot here. We could buy the elixirs, but I'm going to craft those instead of buying them.
Anything else? You've been a friend to us. Come back anytime. Never see us coming.
Alright, so now we'll make our way back out. I don't know if we can go out this way or not. Can't remember. It's been a long time since I played this section of... Okay, so no, I can't. So I'm going to go back out the same way I came in. which is up this ladder.
Don't worry, kid. In Baldur's Gate,
And we'll go talk to Zevlor, and that should be the end of the live stream for today. We did some good work today. Got in some good combat, got some good exploration in. So went through a lot of good things today. Let's make our way down and around over here. And you can now have conversations with all of the tieflings around here, and they're going to comment about the ritual being stopped and that sort of stuff. So there are new dialogue options that have opened up with them.
Hope the goblins aren't smart enough to poison their blades.
So we'll talk to Zevlor here.
I'm told the Druids have stopped their damn chanting. What happened? Truly, Ilmater's ashes. I never thought she would actually see reason. Thank you. We still have the goblins to contend with, but you've given us time to prepare. I need to ensure my people make the most of it. But here, left over from my soldiering days, it's sparse thanks for what you've done for us. And I'm afraid I have more yet to ask. You've bought us some time here, but the goblins are still massing out there. We'd need an army of our own to escort us safely to Baldur's Gate. And while I don't doubt your abilities, you're no army. There may be a way, though. Goblins are ill-disciplined. It's unlike them to organize so cleverly.
Somebody must be leading them, bringing discipline to their ranks. Take out that leadership, and they'll scatter.
The Blade of Frontiers has done what he can to help us prepare for the journey, and we are grateful. But it'll be a short journey if the goblins still own the roads.
By the Triad, there is only one correct answer. Refuse him, and we sentence these people to die.
Okay, so before I answer this, there is a trade option down here. I doubt Zevlor's got a whole lot. He does not. So just wanted to check and see if there was anything special in his inventory, but there's not.
Everyone in this camp depends on it. Thank you. We'll be ready to leave as soon as you give word.
Okay, so we picked up Hellrider's Pride. This is a set of gloves that are not armor, they are just clothing that offers Helm's protection. So when you heal another creature, it gains resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage dealt by weapon attacks. So that can be very useful if you're casting healing spells on somebody. That would allow them to also gain half damage from all of those weapon attacks. So that is absolutely something that I'm going to swap out on my Bard. So now when I use Bardic Inspiration, they gain 1 to 6 hit points. Also, when I heal a creature, they gain a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws, and they're going to gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So I'm turning into quite the heal monster here for me. And I can also take those gloves of missile snaring, and I can give those to Will, and that will help Will maintain concentration on his spells if he gets attacked by a ranged attacker. So, all good benefits here. Murkon wrote us a story, and I think we can do this last thing here, and this will be the last one. Is the Swamp Chapter 2 of the game. The game is divided up into 4 different acts, with the 4th act really being the very end game. But all of Act 1 is what early access was, and that includes the swamp area. So everything through the Underdark, through the Grimforge, through the Githyanki encounter, all of that was still Act 1 of the game, and it still is. Once you get into the Cursed Lands, and making your way to the Inn of Light or whatever it's called. That's all in Act 2 of the game. But for now, we're still on Act 1. Do bonuses stack? What do you mean? Except, so he wrote us a poem here. It's not very good, but it is it is pretty funny. So, but yeah, talking about us saving him from the beach with all the typical misspellings that a child would have. So, but something again that you can sell off. So we are going to just quickly look over our characters. So
Action, not reaction.
We've got spell slots. We've still got a lot of spell slots, so I don't think that we need to necessarily... I don't know if we can fast travel from down here. We can. So I don't think we necessarily need to take a long rest here. I still have one Bardic Inspiration left. So I think I'm still in a good spot. But as far as bonuses, for instance, if you're talking about when I heal somebody, will they get a 1d4 bonus to their attack rolls and saving throws? And will they get resistance to these things? Yes. Those two effects will take place once I heal somebody. However, if you're talking about whether the same bonus stacks, if you get that bonus applied from two different places, 90% of the time that is no. There are certain effects that do stack if they're coming from multiple places, but 90% of the time, if you give somebody a debuff or a buff, then no, that the effects do not stack. But yeah, as far as getting multiple different bonuses from a single action, that happens all the time. So, okay, so I think we're going to give us a new save here. And looking again at our map, we can see that we have some ways to go. We bypassed, this is the Blighted Village. We skirted the Blighted Village just to go down into this area, so we could complete the Kagha quest. But I think what we're going to do next stream is we're going to make our way into the Blighted Village so that we can start clearing it out. We will clear out the upper areas of the Blighted Village, and then we will move down into the Whispering Depths and see how far we can get through the Whispering Depths. I don't think we're going to be able to clear both. There's a bunch of encounters in the Blighted Village, and the Whispering Depths is quite long in and of itself. But that, I think, is what we're going to be doing. The stream after that, we're going to head up into the Risen Road and start dealing with recruiting Karlach and the Toll House and Joaquin's Rest and all of those things that are up here in this area. So that's going to be a couple of live streams away, but next live stream we should get into a bunch of combat here inside the Blighted Village and get into some more exploration and some combat, some heavy-duty combat into the Whispering Depths if we make it that far. So I think that's going to take us to the end of the live stream today. So as always, as you've seen through the community post, I can't say thanks enough. It's honestly amazing that I've gotten to the level of subscribers to the channel that I'm at right now. I never expected it. Like I said, I will never ask anybody for a subscription or a like simply because that's not what I do this for. I'm never going to end up making a ton of money off of YouTube. I simply do this to help people hopefully enjoy the games that I play. as much as I do. And if you can learn something while you're watching, that's great. I just didn't expect that I would get the subscriber increase that I've seen over the past month. It's simply incredible, and that is entirely due to all of you and your generosity. So I can't say thank you enough. So I'd like to thank everyone again for joining me today. Without your support, none of this would be possible. Just Smurf, just so you know, the Paladin playthrough is tomorrow from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time, which is Greenwich Mean Time -5. You'll see a notification go up a couple hours before it starts. So, with that being said, this is Commander Jorval saying until next time, fare thee well.